Won't you pray with me? The Lord is my light and salvation. In God I trust, in God I trust. The Lord is my light and salvation. In God I trust, in God I trust. The Lord is my light and salvation. In God I trust, in God I trust. Amen. Please be seated. It happens every year, and every year it's a surprise. Right after the end of daylight savings time, when America plunges into darkness. In 2016, an artist named Johnny Sun posted a tweet about this time of year, this early fall. Playing on the lyrics to The Sound of Silence, he wrote, "Hello, darkness, my old friend. Why are you here? It's 4 p.m. Especially for those of us on the eastern edge of a time zone, we feel shocked and honestly somewhat offended by all this darkness. I never saw the sun today, you hear people say. It was dark when I went to work, and then dark when I left work. Why do I feel so slow, so bad? Is it me? Has it ever been this dark before? Now, I've actually wondered this often enough, especially this year. And so in the midst of preparing this sermon, I even Googled, sunset earlier in 2022 than 2021? I knew it was true, I just wanted the scientific confirmation. Well, the Google machine laughed at me. Sunset, November 27th, 2022, 4:32 p.m. Sunset, November 27th, 2021, 4:32 p.m. 2010, sunset, November 27th, 2010, 4:32 p.m. Okay, what about 1971? Say it with me, 4:32 p.m. Apparently, every year that I have been on this planet, all 50 of them, the sun has set on November 27th at 4:32 p.m. It turns out sunrise and sunset are frustratingly consistent year after year. What changes is us. Scientists say that our brains create these schemas, which are sets of memories and expectations that help us to navigate and make sense of our worlds at any given moment. If we no longer need a schema, well, then the brain kind of packs it away into deep storage. And so when in the summer, the days are long and luxurious, we gradually forget that they were ever this short or ever this dark. We no longer expect it to happen. That schema is not active. But wow, as soon as the fall back happens, it's like a dramatic drop, am I right? It's like this drop, it's like portent of doom all around. Like we've never before seen this deep a darkness. Even though we have. We just forgot. Eventually, our memory and expectations, they adjust, and by the time we get to December the 21st, the shortest day of the year, we're no longer in shock. The schema that helps us to make sense of the darkness, that narrative comes front and center. We remember that others have stumbled and groped for handholds before us. We remember that actually we have lived with this darkness before. We have even found blessing in the midst of it. But it's so easy to forget. A church friend was talking to her therapist recently, sharing about how tough this time of year can be. And her wise counselor, who has nothing to do with the church, mind you, he listened and then he remarked in all genuine innocence, "What you need is a ritual that acknowledges the darkness and reminds you that you've been here before and that there will be light and that in the meantime you know what to do." What would something like that even look like? My friend, of course, had a total duh moment because as a Christian, she's got a ritual. And in fact, we've got a whole season. It's the season of Advent. Hindus and Sikhs have Diwali. Jews have Hanukkah. Pagans observe the winter solstice. What our bodies and minds forget, liturgical calendars draw us back to again and again. And so in this season, especially this first Sunday of Advent, Christians hear story after story of God's people struggling in the shadows and seeking the light of God. And we don't just hear this story, we step into it. Our bodies, minds, and hearts return to the schemas and truths we need for this tender, darker season of life. We need to hear these stories. We need to hear the prophet Isaiah, a man acquainted with sorrow and struggle. In this morning's first reading, Isaiah casts a vision of a world where God's love rules. And just by what he describes, I feel like you can kind of deduce the actual world around him. For instance, clearly in his day, people were laughing at the God of Israel. And in the days to come, he promised, they will flock to the mountain of the Lord. Right now, Isaiah says, swords and spears are sprayed across the land, but the day is coming, will soon be here, when they will be transformed into plowshares and pruning hooks. In other words, the implements of destruction and slaughter will become the very tools that bring life from the ground and give life to the people. Nations may be at war with each other and within themselves. Isaiah promises that God is making a new day when we will study war no more. The key, he told his community some 2,700 years ago, the key, he said, is this: "O house of Jacob, come, let us walk in the light of the Lord." Isaiah would probably beg us in 2022 New York City, hold on to the Holy One who has brought you this far. When it is darkest, trust that the light of God can still light your path. 700 years after Isaiah, Jesus sees his followers struggling to hang on, and he knows that once he's gone, it's only going to get harder. And so he offers them this wisdom. Please, my friends, keep awake. I know you're tired. I know this world is often scary and mean and violent. I know that you don't know what's coming. But if you bury your head, if you sleepwalk through life, through this moment, if you give up on my way of love and walk the path of least resistance, that's when things really will fall apart. Because I feel like Jesus was explaining to them, because when you stop being awake and intentional and stop keeping your heart and mind stayed on God, well, that's when the thief can enter and take everything that matters most from you, your heart, your hope, your reason for living. And you won't even see it go down because you were asleep. Don't let that happen to you. I feel like Jesus is asking his followers, don't let the shadows win because a new day is coming. Stay focused on what I've taught you. Focus on the light I've shown you. Stay awake. We need these voices. We need these stories. We need Advent. If it didn't exist, I reckon somebody would have had to make it up. You know, for years, I've been doing a post-Thanksgiving check-in with my friend Alicia. When we spoke yesterday, it was the usual. We kvetched about delayed flights, eating so much turkey and so many carbs, braving Black Friday crowds for the first time in 3 years. But I know Alicia. Her smile looked hollow, even on Zoom. I could see it. And eventually she let slip that the trip home had been almost unbearable. Her alcoholic mother was drinking more than ever. Her depressed brother spent more time with his party buddies than he did with his wife and son. And while it was tough all year long, it was rarely easy for her with family. There was something about this season, these darkening days. It was just so much. It was so much to feel like everywhere she looked, people were struggling. They looked tired. Their faces were sagging. It was so much with these darkening days and the cheerful music that seemed like it was mocking her pain. It seemed like the chaos was trying to suck the people she loved in, and was threatening to suck her in too. And she heard the reassurances that there was light on the way, but she couldn't recall how to access it. Alicia couldn't remember the light. When we spoke yesterday, I didn't give her any easy advice or platitudes. I didn't try to talk her out of her truth. I just listened. I told her, I love you. I told her, I'm going to pray for you. But if I could talk to her right now, and maybe I will call her up this afternoon, I think I might share with her a piece of Psalm 36, where it is written, with you, O God, is the well of life, and in your light we see light. And maybe that would just be the beginning of my prayer for Alicia. My sister, I might pray. My sister, I'm praying now. I see you in the valley, stumbling and despairing. And Alicia, I don't know what's next for you, for your family, how much lower you will go. But I know that this is not the end. There is light. And I believe you know this on some level, but you don't remember. And so I will be here holding it out for you. The whole church will be here holding it out for you. Just as the journey from Holy Week to Easter takes us into the valley, into the grave, only to lead us back out with Jesus into resurrected life. Alicia, Advent is a time to pause and get real about just how dark the shadows have become and how lost we all sometimes feel. Every week, the darkness will deepen. Every week, we will add another candle to that wreath. Just a little more light. Enough light to remember that the darkness is not our enemy. Enough light to trust that we can do this. Enough light to see the faint outlines and breathe, because actually we do know how to walk through times like these. And then we move together, taking small intentional steps, walking in the light of God. Alicia, we can do this. St. Bart's, we can do this. Amen.